Hi, everybody. Lori Fulbright here. Thank you so much for joining me on this cold day to talk about the cons, the frauds, and the scams that are working in green country right now. I cannot tell you how many people this affects. It is not just senior citizens. It is people who are smart, capable, young, professional people. So I tell people all the time, the biggest misconception about scams is that only stupid people fall for it. Y'all, that is not true. I promise you. All the victims I've interviewed over the years, they are smart people. Here's how I like to think about it is these scammers are professionals at what they do. We're amateurs. So it would be like an NFL football player who's a professional going up against a high school football player. You don't stand a chance. They do this every day. They do this all over the world. They do this millions of times. And that's why it can sound like, oh, that made so much more sense. Or, oh, that sounded like it would work. And they made it sound legitimate and believable. It's because they are professionals and we are not. So I hope you have a pen and paper. We're going to go through all the scams working in green country today. And then I'm going to take your questions at the end. I already have some viewers who have sent in questions. So thank you so much. If you want to add a question, you can do that in the comments below. We'll try to get to your questions. But first, I want to tell you about the scams that are working right now. And my biggest favor to ask of you is please share this information with everybody you know, because you guys, even though I post about it, we do stories about it on the news, I speak about this to groups all over all the time, I still get calls every single day about someone who has been scammed. So the word somehow is not getting out. So I beg of you, after today, after you've taken your notes, I want you to tell your family, I want you to tell your friends. And if anybody tells you, oh, hey, I've won this, or oh, hey, this is happening, I want you to be able to say to them, it is a scam. Also, at the end, we're going to talk about some ways you can best protect yourself from identity theft, because we know that's a huge issue. So these scammers want two things. They want your money, of course, and they want your personal information. So those are the two things we have to stop giving them. People say to me, Lori, why doesn't the FBI, why doesn't the Attorney General, why don't the police do something about scammers? You guys, mostly they can't. Mostly these scammers are sitting overseas someplace. The most common places we see them sitting are Canada. So if you ever hear somebody's in Canada, that's a scam. London, if you ever hear that, that's a scam. And Nigeria. So our government really can't go over to these other places and get these scammers. So I tell people we can't rely on the cops or the sheriff's office or the FBI. You know who can stop scammers, y'all? Us. We're the only ones. We have to stop giving them our information and our money. But right now they are making millions off of Oklahomans. As a matter of fact, you guys, Oklahoma just 2 years ago had its first $1 million scam victim. One woman lost $1 million. That is devastating. But to tell you guys the truth, the people that I interview, they can't afford the $1,500 that they were out, or the $2,400 or the $500. It seems like they always get us at a time when we are desperate, and that makes it even harder. Okay, so we're going to start down the list. Get your pen and paper ready. We're going to go right through these, and I'll tell you a little bit about each one. Without a doubt, the number one scam working in green country right now is the grandparent scam. And that's when they call and say, Grandma, I've been arrested, or Grandma, I've been in a car wreck, or Grandpa, or Aunt or Uncle, I'm in trouble and I need your help. You guys, this is the biggest scam in Oklahoma right now. And of course, we want to help people, a loved one. So here's what I would tell you, you guys. It is not your loved one who's been arrested. They are not been kidnapped. They've not been in a car wreck, but we always don't know that for certain. So here's how this works. Let me tell you, I had an Owasso couple lose $3,500. A Claremore couple lost $4,500. And you guys, I just had a Tahlequah man. He lost $40,000 to this scam. So let me tell you about my Owasso couple. She answers, Grandma, I'm in trouble. And she's like, Michael? Yes, now they have the name, right? And he goes, yes, it's Michael. So he was on a trip, and they'll say they were on a job hunting trip or a football game with their buddies or a class reunion, had a little too much to drink, got in a car wreck. And he's like, Grandma, please don't tell Mom and Dad. I don't want to get in trouble. And of course, she's like, Lori, Michael's a good kid. I don't want to get him in trouble. So she's like, what do you need? Well, I need $3,500 to get myself out of jail. And the way you do that is he hands off the phone. Oh, here's the defense attorney or the court clerk or whoever they claim it is. And you talk to another person. And they say, go put the money on a prepaid money card. This is the most important thing I'm going to say all day, and I'm going to say it a million times. You never legitimately need to ever put money on a prepaid money card. The minute someone says to you, the money goes on a prepaid money card, hang up the phone. So the way they work is you go to a Walmart or a Walgreens or a Lowe's or a Home Depot, and they'll say, buy a $500 GameStop card, buy a $500 Visa card, buy a $2,000 Google Play card, buy an iTunes card, and put the money on there. And then call me back and read me that number on the back of the card. That is the biggest scam in the world. I don't care what they tell you about that. If they say the words money card, that's it. You're done. It's a scam. But of course, she doesn't know that. So grandma runs to Walmart in Owasso and she gets the money on a prepaid money card. She runs home, she calls them back, and she reads that number off the back of the card. And let me tell you, once you give them that number, your money is gone forever. There's nothing I can do to get it back. The cops can't get it back. It's gone. So of course, she gives them the money and she's thinking, whew, I got Michael out of jail. Well, they call back 30 minutes later, and what do you think they need? More money. That's right. They always need more. So yes, you got Michael out of jail, but his car, it's still an impound. So we're going to need another $1,000. So she drives to another Walmart, you guys, to get this $1,000. And I don't know who this woman was who worked at this Walmart, but I just want to hug her. Because when grandma goes up to get $1,000 more on a prepaid money card, this woman behind the counter says, I don't think you should do this. I think this is a scam and you're being taken. And she's like, no, no, no. Of course, she's been sworn to secrecy. She can't tell anybody her grandson's been arrested. She can't tell anybody it's for bail money. And the lady behind the counter says, I'm not doing it, which that took some guts. And my grandma, of course, in the story, she got mad from Owasso because she was like, I'm a grown woman. This is my own money. I can do what I want with it, which of course, technically is true. But she drives home. And she starts thinking about it, and she doesn't want to do it, you guys, but she does call Michael's mom and daddy. And she says, do you know where Michael is right now? And they're like, yep, he's at his job in Oklahoma City. We just talked to him. She calls him in Oklahoma City at his job, and she goes, Michael, I know you don't want to tell anybody, but I know you were in jail. And he's like, Grandma, I'm not in jail. You guys, the hard part about this scam for me is when I interview these victims is they say, Lori, I swear to you, it sounded exactly like my grandchild. I don't know if that's just our, mind playing a trick on us. I don't know if it's because they sound like they're in a crisis or they're in trouble. But you guys, they are not in jail. And if they are, because let's be honest, we all have that one family member that could be in jail. If they are, you don't bail them out of jail with a prepaid money card. That is not how it works. You go down to the jail, you get a bail bondsman, and you bond them out that way. So never, never, never is there a money card involved. I had one woman and they called her and they go, Grandma, I'm in trouble. And she's like, I don't know who this is because all my kids call me Mimi. So she knew that wasn't her grandchild. I had another one and they go, Grandma, I'm in trouble. And she goes, who is this? And of course, they don't have the name. And so they go, I'm your favorite grandchild. She was like, I don't have a favorite. Click. And she hung up. So you guys, you could ask them something that only they would know. What was your favorite food I fixed you when you were 5 years old? But I'm just telling you, it's not your loved one. It's not. So don't fall for that. But people fall for that because they get in a panic. So I have a preacher in Green Country who fell for this scam, and they called and said, your nephew is in Mexico and he partied too big and he's been arrested and we're holding him at the U.S. Marines base in Mexico and you need to bail him out. And the preacher's a smart guy. So he's like, really? What year were the Marines formed? Thinking that's something that they would have to answer off the top of their head. Well, of course they Google it and they give him the answer. So he thinks it's real. He puts $2,500 on a money card and sends it. His nephew was never in Mexico. He was never arrested. So if you're going to ask him a question, y'all, it has to be something only they would know, not something the scammer could Google. So please tell your friends, they're going to call and say your loved one's been arrested. They've been kidnapped. They've been in a car wreck. Don't believe any of that, especially when they say the way to get them out is to put the money on a prepaid money card. Okay, I've covered that one. That's the biggie right now working. So of course, the IRS scam, I know you guys have gotten this call. You're going to get it a lot between now and April. So it's the IRS. You owe us a lot of money. You're going to have to pay right now. We're going to take you to court. You're going to go to jail. I mean, they threaten all kinds of hairy-carry on you. And guess how the IRS wants to pay you, or you to pay them? Everybody say it together, prepaid money card. As you know, the IRS does not take prepaid money cards. If you owe the IRS, they know how to get their money, right? So don't believe them. The IRS does not call you. The IRS does not email you. Ignore all of those. Now, if the IRS mails you a letter, I would pay attention to that. I would not call the number in the letter. I would not click on the link or the email in the letter, but I would go to the phone book. They still make that. And I'd look up the local IRS office, like in Tulsa, it's 55th and Garnett. And I would call them and say, did you really send me this letter? But a letter I would pay attention to, but I'd still confirm it. But an email is not the IRS and a phone call is not the IRS. And you never pay the IRS with a prepaid money card. All right. Jury duty. You have missed jury duty and there is a warrant out for your arrest. And if you don't pay right now, you're going to jail. We're going to issue a warrant. And guess how you pay your fine for missing jury duty? You're right. Prepaid money card. So you guys, that is not how that works. If you miss jury duty, and of course the courts have been on and off and canceled, and it's hard to keep track lately because of COVID. If you miss jury duty, guess what they do? They reschedule you. You don't get a warrant. You don't have to pay a fine. There is nothing like that. And you certainly don't do it on a prepaid money card. You know that by now. So don't fall for that. If you get that call and you're thinking, oh, I wonder if I really did miss jury duty, hang up, go to the phone book, call the Tulsa County Courthouse or wherever you live. Here it's 918-596-5000 and say, did I miss jury duty? And they'll tell you, but don't let anybody make you believe this. I have a woman, they called her, you missed jury duty, $350 is what they wanted. She runs and puts it on a prepaid money card. She calls him back. Do I need to go to the sheriff's office to give this money? Do I need to go to the courthouse? And he says, no, he actually was local. He says, meet me in a Quick Trip parking lot. Really? First of all, you don't pay a fine. Second of all, you certainly don't pay a fine in a Quick Trip parking lot. Come on, people, work with me. Okay, so that one's a big one too. So for years, you guys, I got this. Lori, I got a phone call or I got an email that says I won the lottery. Do you think I won the lottery? And I'd be like, I don't know. Did you play the lottery? No. Y'all, if you didn't play the lottery, I promise you, you didn't win the lottery, okay? That was a few years ago. What I'm seeing now, especially this time of year, is the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes. You guys, let me be the first to tell you right now, I'm really sorry, but you did not win. You did not win. So they do give a prize. You guys, they absolutely do. And if they give a big prize, you know, you see it on TV, they're $1 million for life or whatever it is. They never contact you ahead of time with an email or a phone call. They don't do that. So if you really win, say you win in green country, you'll know you won because when you look out your window, I'll be there. There'll be a guy with a big check and some flowers. In the past, when there's been a winner in Oklahoma, they call the TV station and we get to go with them and do a story on it. So if anybody tells you you won the Publishers Clearinghouse and you don't see a guy with a big check and flowers and balloons and me on your front porch, you did not win. But here's what they do. So you guys, I have a woman in West Tulsa and she works as a cafeteria worker at a school. And she's a hardworking woman. She's 51. And she gets the little thing in the mail and she wants to fill it out because we all love filling it out. And she prays over it. And she says, God, if you let me win this money, I won't spend a penny of it on myself. You guys, this is not a greedy person. This is a sweet, sweet woman. So she fills it out. She mails it in like we all like to do. But then 2 weeks later, she gets a phone call. You've won $2.5 million in a brand new car sitting in a storage unit in Tulsa, just waiting for you. And she told me later, she thought it was an answer to prayer. So he wants, of course, some fees up front, some taxes up front. You got to pay all this money up front, but then of course you'll get it all back when you get your winnings. That is a lie, but she doesn't know that. And so first it's 300 and then it's 500 and then it's 800, then it's 2,500, then it's 1,500 and it goes and goes and goes. She spends her entire life savings of $10,000 trying to get this prize. And she finally says to him, I'm out of money. I don't have any more. I think it's a scam. And he says, it's not a scam and I can prove it to you. And so she's like, prove it? He goes, yes, that new car that you're going to win along with your millions that's sitting in that storage unit. I drove it by your house the other night in West Tulsa. You live right next to the Arby's, across from the library, but your lights were out at 11. So I didn't want to stop, but I was going to show you your new car. She said to me later, Lori, how would he know all that? You guys, that is called Google Earth, right? Anybody sitting in Nigeria or London or Canada could Google Earth and see you live next to a library or a church or a gas station or Arby's. And of course, her lights were out at 11 o'clock at night. She's 51. But because of that story, you guys, she believed him. And he taught her how to go apply for a credit card and start taking out cash advances to the tune of $14,000 more. So she's out her 10,000 in cash. Now she's out 14,000 more. And that's when her kids found out. And that's usually when I get a phone call. And I do this all the time. If a family asks me to go by their loved one's house and talk to them, I do. I don't take a camera. I don't do a story. I do it on my own time. And I drive to their home. I sit in their living room and I explain to them, this is a scam. And she was like, Lori, he's going to pay back that credit card. Lori, he's going to replenish my savings. Lori, when I get my, none of that is true. So what you need to know, and please tell every loved one in your life, if they say that they have a situation where they've won a prize, but they have to pay money up front, it is a lie. Because not just in Oklahoma, you guys, but in the national United States of America, you never have to pay one single penny to get a prize. It's illegal. It's against the law. Nobody can give you a prize and ask you to pay for it. So if they ask you to pay one penny to get a prize, it's a lie. It's a scam. It's a scam. It's a scam. Don't fall for it. I'll give you an example. The other day, I got a phone call. You've won a free cruise to the Bahamas. I'm like, let's go. But of course, after talking to them, this $9,000 free trip, all I had to do was put $25 on a prepaid money card. Well, I know that's a lie. Sounds like a good deal, but you never have to pay one penny to pick up a prize. It's not legitimate. Don't fall for it. Tell everyone in your life that you know not to fall for it. So you guys, it just broke my heart because can you imagine how hard and how long a cafeteria worker worked to save up that money, and now she's no savings and she owes $14,000 on a high interest credit card. I had another family call me from East Tulsa, and they had found receipts totaling $100,000. Same scam. The woman had been told $2.5 million for the Publishers Clearinghouse and a brand new car, but you got to pay some fees and taxes up front. Well, her husband was driving her over to MoneyGram, like a Western Union place, and she would have to MoneyGram it, which they don't ask you to do that hardly at all anymore. It's all money cards. But she was doing that. Her kids told her it was a scam. Her grandkids told her it was a scam. She wouldn't believe them. So I went to her house, and I took a police officer with me who works these frauds. And we both showed her, it's a scam, it's a scam, it's not real. Here's all the information. Even on the Publishers Clearinghouse website, it says, we don't charge you, we don't call you, we don't email. Finally, you guys, her husband looked at her and said, you know what, they've convinced me, so I'm not driving you to town anymore to send this money. And you guys, this almost broke my heart. She looked at a man she had been married to for 54 years, and she threatened to divorce him. You guys, I tell people these scammers are like brainwashers. You will listen to a stranger on the phone more than the spouse of 50 years, more than your kids, more than your grandkids, more than a TV reporter, more than your church group, more than your best friend. I don't know what it is, but you start believing a total stranger on the phone more than those who love you. So if you know someone who says they've won a prize, you've got to sit them down and talk to them and tell them, don't send any money because it's a scam. But I've seen people, you guys, lose their homes, lose their cars. I had a woman call me 2 weeks ago. She filed bankruptcy because of a scam. So if anybody tells you they've won a prize, please get a hold of them and tell them what the real deal is. Okay, let's talk about computers for a minute. There's a lot of scams where people will call you and say your computer is messed up. So let's talk about the first one. The first one is they lock up your computer. I mean, y'all, they lock it up. You can't use it. Clickety click, can't do anything. And then something pops up on the screen and it says, maybe it says this is the FBI or this is Homeland Security or this is whoever. And we caught you looking at something nasty on your computer, so we've locked it up. But of course, if you want it unlocked, what do you think? You just got to pay us $399. That is a scam. First of all, I'm sure you weren't looking at anything nasty. But second of all, the government doesn't know all that. And they certainly don't lock up your computer, and they certainly don't unlock it for money. That is a scammer. So if you pay them, they'll unlock it. But they will also download something on your computer so they can see every password you type in, every credit card you type in. When you check your bank accounts, they can see that. Don't do that. What I tell people is if your computer gets locked up by a scammer and they want money, the first thing you should do is just go unplug it from the wall. And then if you're smart, call a 10-year-old in your life and say, come fix this. Because, right, 10-year-olds can fix it for us. If you don't have a 10-year-old, take it to a local geek shop. Go to a local computer shop. They will take that off of there for you. They will unlock it. It'll cost you around 75 bucks. And if they're locally owned and doing business here and trustworthy, you don't have to worry about anything else. So don't pay those people to unlock your computer. So the next one, my mother gets this one all the time in Missouri, and they'll say, this is Microsoft, or this is so-and-so, and we've detected a problem with your computer and you need to give us access so we can fix it. Well, my mother always goes, well, isn't that something? I don't own a computer. She does everything on her iPad, you guys. So thankfully she knows that one's a scam. So if they tell you that, don't fall for it. My sister-in-law, she's smart. She's 40. She's a school teacher. She fell for this. So they said, there's a problem. Give us access. She does. Well, of course, she had filed taxes on that computer. So now they didn't only have hers and my brother's, but their 3 kids' names, social security numbers, date of birth, address, everything. And before long, I think it was my 9-year-old niece had like a $200,000 student loan somewhere. And my 12-year-old nephew had a, condo in Colorado. I mean, it's just crazy what they can do with this information. So she finally calls me and says, I think I've been scammed. I'm like, yes, you have been. So I said, you drive that to a computer shop right now in your hometown and you get that, have them wipe it clean. So she does. And you guys, this is how persistent these scammers are. She's driving home after they've wiped her computer and the scammer calls her back. And he says, hey, you wiped your computer. We need access to it again. I mean, seriously, they are persistent. You guys, here's what I tell people. To know something is a scam, nobody in the outside world knows what you need in your house. So if somebody from the outside world says you've got a problem with your computer, don't believe that. If you have a problem, you'll know it. You can take it to a local shop. If somebody from the outside world calls you and says you need a better interest rate on your credit card, they don't know that. If you want a better interest rate, you flip your card over or get your bill out and call the number on there and ask for that. Nobody from the outside world knows that you need a car warranty, right? Are we so sick of those calls? So just remember, if somebody from the outside world is trying to call you and tell you you need to do something in your life, don't believe that. They don't know. You'll know if you need something in your life. So it's really important to ignore those. Okay. How many of y'all like to travel, right? When we can, and hopefully getting back to that soon. So here's one that I've seen a lot. So you go check in a hotel somewhere, and of course, give them your credit card, sign all the paperwork. You go to your room, and as soon as you walk into your hotel room, the phone in the room rings. Of course, you answer it, and they say, hello, this is the front desk. There was a problem with your computer, with your credit card number. Can we have that again? That is not the front desk, okay? So that is a scammer, and they have a watcher. They watch where you go. They call. They have a list of the phone numbers. They call your room and pretend to be the front desk. Well, most people go, oh, hang on. Here it is. You've just given that credit card number to a scammer. So if that happens when you're traveling and you check into your hotel room, you say, oh, thanks. I'll be right back down. Click. Walk back down to the front desk and say, did you really need my credit card number again? They're going to be like, I don't know what you're talking about. So that one's an easy one to fall for because it just catches you off guard as soon as you checked in and walked into your room. So tell people that in your life who travel. All right, let's talk about caller ID. How many of you guys have caller ID, right? That's how we live in this world, is we can see the number in our phone. But let me tell you right now, you can no longer trust your caller ID. I promise you on this. It's very frustrating. It seems like every time we get some good technology, then scammers find a way to use it for bad. But several years ago, I did a news story and I bought a little calling card online, $10, and it let me put any number I wanted in someone else's caller ID. It also lets you change your voice from a woman to a man or a man to a woman. I don't think they should be allowed to sell these cards. I think it's wrong, but of course they do. So the first person I tried it on was my mother in Missouri, of course, and I put in her caller ID, Federal Bureau of Investigation. I know, almost gave her a heart attack. And then I changed my voice to sound like a man. So she picks up the phone and I say, this is Agent Smith with the FBI. There's a warrant out for your arrest. And she looks at the phone and of course it says FBI. I say FBI. She believed it. And she's like, what? And so I said, well, just give me your social security number. I'm sure it's a mistake and I'll fix it. And y'all, the crime reporter's mother, who I have yelled at for 25 years, Gave me her social security number over the phone. But you know why? Because she believed her caller ID. Remember many years ago, a lot of you guys will remember Glenda Sylvie. I love Glenda Sylvie. She worked here for a long time. Smart woman. I think she works for OU Tulsa now, but she was an anchor here for a long time. Well, I crawled under my desk and I called her desk across the room and I put Bank of Oklahoma into her caller ID. And so she answers it and I'm like, this is Bank of Oklahoma and one of your accounts is $17,000 overdrawn. Y'all, I didn't even know she had an account there. Well, she does. So she was like, what? And I was like, well, just verify for me your bank account number and I'll fix it. And a smart journalist TV woman gave me her bank account information on the phone. You know why? Because she believed her caller ID. Y'all, I had more fun with that card. But think about it. Anybody could put in your dentist office, your doctor's office, Medicare, Social Security, the police department, the U.S. Marshals. They can put in any number they want. So you cannot believe your caller ID. Have you guys seen this one? They will put your own phone number in your caller ID. How many of you have had that recently? It is so weird. The first time I saw my number in my phone, I was like, I am not calling myself. Of course you're not. But they put in your own number because they're afraid you'll Google a number and you'll see it's a scam and you won't even answer it. So if it's your own phone number, don't answer that because I promise you that's a scammer. Some of them will put all ones or all sixes, but mostly they just fake a number. They can fake channel 6. They can fake any number they want, you guys. I have to stop and tell you this really cute story. So I was giving this speech, had a couple there. They took notes. They listened. Well, they go home. A few days later, the husband is up on the roof, fixing the roof. Well, his ladder fell. And so he was like, no problem. I'm on the roof. I'm stuck up here. I'll call my wife in the house and she can, come get my ladder. So she picks up the phone and sees it's her phone number. And she's like, oh, no. Lori Fulbright said, if it's my own number, don't answer it. But she eventually got him off the roof. Okay, I'm just saying. So you guys just remember, here's my advice. Don't give your information or your money to anybody over the phone that has called you because you can no longer trust your caller ID. If they want information, you're like, okay, click. You call your doctor's office and say, did you really just call me? Or you call your Visa company and say, did you just call me? You have to verify that because they can change that phone number 50 times a day and they can scam that caller ID. It is so annoying. If you can, and here's what I tell my mother, just answer the phone calls that show up in your contacts. If you don't know the number, let it go to voicemail and then you can just delete them later. Or if it's a really legitimate, then you can answer it. But they can lie on caller ID. Just please know that. All right, let's talk about hiring people. So this is really more of a local scam. So you need to hire someone to trim your trees or renovate your bathroom or fix your kitchen or, whatever it is right now, get the ice or the snow off your driveway. So never, ever, ever, you guys, hire people who come up to your door and knock on the door. If you need to hire somebody, excuse me, got a blow my nose? If you need to hire somebody, it's really important that you figure out who to hire. So ask your kids, ask your relative, ask a church group, call me, I'll tell you who to hire. But these people who knock on your door, don't hire them because I promise you, they're going to need some money up front. That's a big no-no. They're going to say, if you'll just pay for me the materials, then you can pay my labor later. That is not how legitimate business people do. So don't do that, but they're going to have a sob story. My baby's in the hospital. My mama's in the hospital. My wife's in the hospital. I just got out of the hospital. Somebody's going to be sick. So they're going to say, I just need the money up front because money's tight. You guys, that is not a legitimate way to hire somebody. I cannot tell you the victims I've interviewed over the years who have gotten totally taken by someone they gave $50,000 to remodel a kitchen and they never showed up. I've got a couple right now who's out several $100s. They gave some guy that now that they've Googled him, they realize I did a story on him years ago. He was doing the same thing then. So go to the Better Business Bureau website, call me at Channel 6, ask a loved one who's had work done, but don't just hire anybody, especially if they come and knock on your door and they offer services, and especially if they want money up front, and especially if they have a sob story. Don't fall for that. That is just, I know people every day get taken on that. So please be careful about that. All right, let's talk about Facebook, you guys. I love Facebook. It's a great way to keep in touch with people, but man, scammers love Facebook, you guys. So there's a lot of scams going around on Facebook, and one is it'll be your friend's picture and your friend's name, and they'll say to you they're stranded and they need help, they need money. It is really not your friend. Even though it looks like their name and their picture, the only thing you should do if your friend reaches out and says, hey, I'm stranded and I need you to give me some money, is call your friend and say, girl, you've been hacked, change your passwords, because it's not really them. So this happened to a preacher here in Green Country, and his picture, his name went out to everybody in the congregation. And he said, I was in London, y'all. I was in London on a mission trip and I got stranded. I got out of the taxi. I don't have my wallet. I don't have my passport, my credit cards, my cash. I can't get home to Green Country. Can you guys send me a little money? Well, of course, everybody in the church wants to send the preacher money. So they start sending money. But one person in the church, hey, hang on a minute. They called the church and they said, where is the pastor right now? And of course, she said, he's in his office working on his Sunday sermon. He wasn't in London. He wasn't stranded. It wasn't from him. Somebody had hacked his Facebook page. So just know, before somebody approaches you on Facebook and you think it's really your friend, call your friend and say, is this really you looking for money? It's not. I promise you. Think about it. If I needed help, if I got stranded someplace, I am not going to go to Facebook Messenger, right? I'm going to call my mama. I'm going to call my husband. I'm going to call somebody that I know and love and trust. I'm not going to do that through Facebook Messenger. So now what we're having is that celebrities need your help. Blake Shelton needs your help. Reba McEntire needs your help. Imagine that. I have a woman in Green Country and she lost $3,000 recently because Reba McEntire messaged her on Facebook. It is, Reba's picture, Reba's name. And she's raising money for a child who has cancer in Africa. Could you send some money? And this lady, sweet, generous lady, sent $3,000. And then she realizes that really wasn't Reba McEntire. I promise you, it's not the celebrity it claims to be. And these celebrities don't need our money, right? Reba McEntire can take care of in Africa with cancer. She doesn't need us. So beware of that. So another one on Facebook is, it'll be, again, your friend's name and your friend's number or, picture. And they'll say, hey, I just won a big prize. The Zuckerbergs are giving away money. Facebook is giving away money. Bill and Melinda Gates are giving away money. I got mine already, my 200,000. Your name is on the list. You've got to go and get your money. You know what you should do? Call your friend and say, you've been hacked. Change your password. No one is giving away money. Mark Zuckerberg is not giving away money. Bill and Melinda Gates are not giving away money. It's even on their website. This is a scam. Don't fall for it. The Gates Foundation does tons of charity. This is not it. So again, even though it might look like it came from someone that your friend, it is not your friend. So they've been hacked. Someone's using their name and their picture. So just know that happens all the time. All right, let's talk about text messages. Of course, because everybody's about texting these days. I swear, if my mother didn't text, she wouldn't have a conversation with her grandchildren, right? I mean, they won't sit on the phone and talk, but they'll text her for an hour. So texting is great, but you guys, scammers love text messages as well. So it's really important that you know that they're not just coming through email. They're not just coming through phone calls. They're not just coming through Facebook. They're in a text message. So I have a retired police officer, smart man, retired after like 35 years. He gets a text one day that says, this is Best Buy. We are giving away $500 gift cards. Click here. Well, he's like, woohoo. So he clicks. Don't ever click. And then they want what? His name, his address, his phone number, his personal information. He is so excited to win this gift card that he types it all in. He hits send. And then he stops and thinks, what have I done? Right? What have I done? So he calls Best Buy out here on 71st Street and says, are you guys giving away $500 gift cards? And they're like, of course not. Of course not. So if you get a text message from your bank, if you get a text message from your credit card, if you get a text message from Netflix, if you get a text message from UPS or FedEx or Amazon, anybody, they're not real. Chances are they're not real. So what do you do to verify it? You call your bank directly, but you don't click on that text message. You don't give them any information. You call your credit card company directly. You log into your Netflix account. You log into your Amazon account. You log in and see if FedEx is really trying to get you a package or UPS. But you guys, I'm telling you, text messages, it is constant right now with these scammers. So please, right now there's one going around on Netflix, a text message free Netflix for a year because of COVID. It's not true. Okay. Your package has been delayed. Click here. It's not true. So just know that's a biggie. All right, you guys. So grant money, the government will send you, call you or email you and say, you've won $9,000 in government grant money and you don't ever have to pay it back. And to get that grant money, that $9,000 or $6,000 or whatever it is, guess what you have to do? You're right. Send them some money on a prepaid money card. I interviewed a woman who had this scam happen to her, and she told the guy, I don't know how to do a prepaid money card. I don't even know what that is. And he goes, no, drive to the store, call me when you get to the store, and I will walk you through it. I mean, y'all, these scammers are serious. So ignore that. Don't believe that. There is no grant money that you don't have to pay back. And anytime someone says the magic words prepaid money card, you know that's a lie. Be very careful. Student loans, they offer to pay those off. And that's a scam if they want money up front. If you're applying for a job online and they want money up front, that's a scam. Oh, the secret shopper is a big one. We want to hire you. All you have to do is go shop. Y'all, if I could get a job and get paid to go shopping, whoo, but you can't. But they say you go shopping at Target, you come back, you tell us how they were, and we'll, send you this money. But of course, you've got to send money up front for training materials. That's a lie. Don't believe it. How many of you get these calls? This is Rachel from Credit Card Services. Y'all, Rachel busy. I swear that woman makes 1 million calls a day. If anybody from the outside world calls you and says they want to change your interest rate or they want to lower your payment, that's a scam. Ignore that. If you want those things, you call, but just hang up. It is hard. You guys, I get it. It is hard to hang up on these people, but please do. All right. If there are men listening, this is really for the men in my group. And I say that only, and I love y'all, but I say that because I find that men do this more than women. You get a scammer on the phone and you know it's a scammer, but you don't hang up. What do? You decide to play with them and you reel them in and you string them along. Y'all, stop playing with these scammers. I mean it. I know it's fun. But a lot of times, you guys, all they're trying to get you to do is say the word yes. Beautiful day in Oklahoma, isn't it? Yes. They've already got edit that audio to make it sound like you approved something you did not approve. So please don't talk to them. The longer you play with them, the longer you reel them in, the more chance you have of saying something like yes that can be used against you. So I've got a guy, he's like, Lori, I've been charged something on my Discover for 2 years, every single month, $75. No idea what it is. Can you help me? We call and we're like, stop charging him. He doesn't know who you are. He didn't approve this charge. And they're like, oh, no, we have audio. And they had asked him a question and there it clearly had been edited where he said the word yes. So really, you guys, the best thing to do is hang up. I know it's hard because you're so sweet in Oklahoma. We're so nice. Even my mother, the nicest Sunday school teacher in the world, I have finally gotten her. Well, she'll be like, no, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. Click. She'll finally hang up. So just hang up. Don't talk to them. The longer you talk to them, more chance you have of saying something that'll be used against you. Okay. I'm in the last few minutes, I'm going to talk about what to me is the worst scam of all. And then I see some questions are already coming in, so I'll answer those. So give me a few minutes. But you guys, to me, this is the worst scam of all of them. And it is the romance scam. And it's the worst one because not only do they take your money, and they take your money, but they really, really hurt your heart. And I've seen it over and over with the people that I've interviewed here. So the romance scam is you go to christianmingle.com or you go to farmersonly.com or any of these, Zeus, whatever they are. And someone says they're in love with you. You talk, you kind of message back and forth. The next thing they want to do is talk on the phone. And you guys remember when you were young and in love and a new relationship, you could talk on the phone to somebody for hours a day. Y'all have been married 21 years now. We can barely talk through lunch. I'm kidding, but you know what I mean? So you'll talk to this person on the phone for hours. You'll share your life story. They'll share their life story. Before you know it, you're in love. They're sending you flowers. They're sending you gifts. They promise to come and meet you. They love you. They want to marry you. And it all sounds wonderful. But I promise you, every time they say they're going to come and visit, something is going to come up and they can't. The way you know this is a scam, and it is hard to convince people of this one, is they'll first of all, they're too fast. They're so fast sending flowers, sending gifts, saying they care about you, saying they love you, and they want to marry you. You haven't even met them. If you haven't met them face to face in 8 weeks, they're not real. I promise you, they're sitting off in another country someplace. They're not living where they say. It doesn't matter if their phone number goes to where they say. What did I tell you about phone numbers? So I have a woman in Tulsa, you guys, she's a retired bank executive, smart woman. She, her marriage of 25 years ends. She just wants companionship. She goes online. This man and she, they talk, and he's got a 10-year-old daughter. They decide they're in love. They're going to get married. And several times he would email her actual American Airlines tickets and say, look, we're on our way to Tulsa to visit you and we're going to be a family. She'd be driving to the airport. And oh, at the last minute, work came up, this came up, that came up. He can't make it. And you guys, they will do this for not just weeks, but they will do this for months until finally they will ask you for money, electronics, to take in a package for them, or to cash a check for them. They will always ask. And in the case of this Tulsa woman, he and his daughter had to go, guess where? To London on business. And while he was in London, he fell in the shower, slipped and hit his head. He's in the hospital. And he's like, oh, darling, we're over here in this place and we don't know anybody and I don't have enough money to get me through. Could you send me some money? And then I'll pay you back when we get married. Well, she's worried sick about this man. She's in love with this man. So what does she do? She sends the money. And then a few weeks later, he's out of the hospital, but can't work yet. His daughter's birthday's coming up. Oh, darling, can you please send her an iPad so she'll have a birthday present? I'll pay you back. Well, she loves this little girl. She thinks she's going to be a stepmother. So what does she do? She sends an iPad, money, and electronics. She was out $40,000 before she figured that one out. I have a lady at Grand Lake who was 52. She was out $125,000 before she figured it out. That first $1 million scam victim in Oklahoma I told you about at the beginning, it was the romance scam. You guys, it's devastating because people believe it. Their heart is in it. Their emotions are in it. It is a terrible scam to do to people. It is also one of the hardest I've ever had to try to convince a victim that they're a scam victim. So if you know someone in your church group or in your family who says they're in love with somebody online, you got to sit down with them today, not tomorrow, not next week, today, and tell them that that's a scam. If they've not met him face to face, I had a lady go, but Lori, I'm dating this man I met online from Dallas, and he's so busy with work, he can't get here. I said, how long has it been since you've been dating online? 3 months. I'm like, he's not real. Oh, no, he's nothing like you said, Lori. He's amazing. You guys, she called me 6 months later, and he wasn't real, and she was out $385,000. It's a terrible, terrible scam. Okay, we can talk a little bit about how to protect yourself. A lot of people think you've got to go buy big, expensive, like, those companies like LifeLock. You guys, my advice would be if you're trying to protect your identity, you go with someone local where you can walk in their office and see them face to face. Your homeowner's insurance policy likely has an identity theft policy. I've been doing business with the same insurance company for 20 years. I can walk in their office and see them face to face, and it's like $100 a year. Your bank is likely going to offer an identity theft policy that's around $100. If you can walk into your bank and see someone face to face, you could ask them about that. AAA is a known, trusted company. You could walk in their office and see them. If you wanted to get an identity theft policy for $100 a year, that I would recommend. But some of these big national corporations like a LifeLock or something, you don't recommend that you do business. You don't need that. You want someone local, face to face, that you can see who can protect our identity. Okay, real fast, you guys. Here's some questions. Can we go through these real fast? Nathan, I get 3 calls a day at least on the car warranty. Are we not sick of that? Everybody raise your hand. We are sick of those. I do too. I get them all the time. I don't have the luxury of only answering my phone when it's somebody I know because I'm a reporter and it might be a story. Boy, hang up on those fools. The minute they start talking, that's a scam. All right, Jimmy, unemployment fraud. This has been terrible. So you guys, even my husband, somebody got his information and filed for unemployment twice using his information, even though he didn't need unemployment. It is a nightmare. It is a really big problem. The state is trying to address it. The federal agencies like the FBI are trying to address it. But if you have someone fraudulently apply, you got to sort that out. And then if you need to apply, it can cause huge delays. It is a problem. You've got to try to protect your information the best way that you can. If that happens, you guys, and your information has been compromised, like with my husband, someone also filed for a tax return in our name too. So annoying. But I would go to one of the 3 credit bureaus. We have those numbers for you. We can pop those on the screen. But go to one of these credit bureaus and tell them you want a free fraud alert put on your accounts. It's good for 1 year. I call every year, and I've just put it on there every year. Don't let them sell you anything. It's free. And if what it means when you don't freeze your accounts, put a free fraud alert on your account. If someone's trying to get credit in your name, they have to call you and ask if it's really you. Or if someone's trying to increase credit in your name, they have to call you and make sure it's you. So I just recommend everybody do that, whether your information's been compromised or not. That's a free thing you can do once a year to help protect yourself. Okay. How do we handle phone calls saying that we've won a trip? The way you know, you guys, if they say you've won a trip, if you talk to them for 2 minutes and they tell you that you need to pay any money at all, hang up, it's a lie. You haven't won a trip if they want you to pay $10. You haven't won a trip if they want you to pay a penny. You haven't won the lottery or the Publishers Clearinghouse if they want any money at all. So you'll know that pretty quickly. And if you really did win a trip and there's no strings attached, good for you. Doesn't happen very often. Nancy. Oh, yes, Nancy, this is a big one. I get calls all the time saying my social security number has been compromised. It's been tampered with and you've got to fix it. That one's been going around for 2 years, you guys. Hang up on those people. I promise you, your social security number has not been compromised. Your number has not been tampered with. Ignore that. They're going to want your information. Isn't it ironic that they call and say, this is social security. Your number's been tampered with. We need your number. Come on. They don't need your number. They have your number. Those are all scams. You don't need to worry. You don't need to panic. Hang up on those people. Is there any way to stop the fake accounts on Facebook? Man, I wish. I've had it happen to me. Someone put a fake Instagram account on me together just a few months ago. It's so annoying. They claim to be a business person rather. I've had a fake Facebook in my name. They claim they were some kind of professor looking for love. Can you imagine? I'm a happily married woman for 21 years and someone, my picture's out there saying I'm a professor. It is so annoying, you guys, but it's hard. Just got to call Facebook over and over and over. Get everybody in your life to report it. Like when I had my fake Instagram, I posted about it. I asked all of my followers to report it to Instagram. And, that's the only thing you can really do is just flood them with people saying this is fake, this, take it down, remove it, things like that. But it's very annoying. Okay, what about calls from the FOP, the Fraternal Order of Police? I am so glad you asked this. Is this Amy? Amy, thank you so much for that. So here's what you need to know about raising money for our men and women in law enforcement here in Oklahoma is they are not allowed to call you and ask for money. Think about those. We get a lot of those, you guys. They can have fundraisers. So I'm all about supporting their fundraisers. They can have a pancake breakfast. They can have a 5K run. Law enforcement can do all those things. Support them. I love that. But if they call you and say they're raising money for local men and women in law enforcement, that's just not true. That money's going someplace else. So I'm so glad you asked me that one. How do I know if a COVID-19 vaccine email is a scam? Yes, we're seeing tons of COVID scams right now, tons of vaccines. I've been posting them on my Facebook page all weekly, it seems like, you guys. So one thing that you'll know if it's a vaccine scam is if they say that they can get your name on a list faster, they can move you up higher on a list. Those are scams for sure. And if there's only one way to get an email, you guys go to the state portal, you sign up for an appointment, they call you, they email you and say, here's your appointment date and time. But if they're asking for a bunch of your private information, now, when you go to the portal, you have to put in your information. That's fine. You've initiated that. But if someone then emails you and says they need all your personal information, I'd be very leery of that. And there's no money involved. You don't pay somebody to get the vaccine. You don't pay to get higher on the list. You don't get paid to get your appointment moved up faster. So that's a really good one. This is a hard one, isn't it? What is the advice if you have a loved one who has maybe dementia and they are so vulnerable to these scams, you guys? It is hard. I mean, it just breaks my heart when I see them because they happen to those people who are most vulnerable, and scammers don't care. They don't care who they take advantage of. The only thing I can say is if you can get control of their money, or if you could even not get control of their money, but maybe get a notification. If more than $1,000 is removed from their checking account, could you get a notification if it's a relative? that would help you know if money is going to a scam. All of a sudden, big chunks of money going to someone. Gift cards, if if the purchase of gift cards, things like that. But just, you got to, I know people who have like a disability or a dementia, you could tell them over and over and over and they're not going to get it. Somehow you've got to just say, if they have a phone, only answer these 6 numbers, don't answer anything else. And hopefully they're not on a computer using email. Ignore text messages. Don't give anybody anything until you call me first. You could do that as a relative or a loved one. I mean, it's a hard one to do, but we've got to watch out for those in our church groups, in our family, and our friends, because I've seen them. They get taken over and over and over, and it's just devastating financially. You guys, one thing I want you to know about these scammers is they used to just be persistent, right? They call, like the warranty guy. Whew. But now, you guys, they're mean. They will threaten you. They will say terrible things to you. They will say, if you hang up this phone right now, I'm going to send the U.S. Marshals to your office. I could only help, or to your house. I could only help you if you stay on the phone. I had a guy in Jinx, you guys. They kept him on the phone for 2.5 hours because he was afraid to hang up. Hang up. They'll threaten you with arrest. They'll threaten to send marshals to your door. They'll threaten to send you to prison. They'll threaten a lawsuit. I have people who say, I have your loved one kidnapped and I'm going to threaten to kill them or beat them up or hurt them if you don't pay me. I mean, they say terrible things. I have a realtor, you guys, and she got a call like at 3 a.m. And so she's half asleep when she answers. And they said, your daughter's been in a car wreck and she's hurt bad and she's in the hospital, but we can't treat her because she can't remember any of her information. She could only remember your number. And of course she was like, oh my dear heavens, is she okay? What do I need to give you? And the guy says, I need her name, her date of birth, her address, her social security number. Well, at first, because her mother is so caught off guard and so worried, she starts saying, here's her name, here's this. And then she stops herself. And she goes, how do I even know you're a real hospital? And he said, lady, don't make me go in there and strangle your daughter. Who says that? Well, she hangs up and calls her daughter. She's asleep in her bed in Owasso. So I just want you to know, you guys, that I had a scam victim say the other day, Lori, I knew it was a scam, but they had me so scared, I just paid them anyway. Don't do that. They are not watching you. They are not coming for you. They do not have your loved one. They will not hurt you, sue you, put you in prison, send arrest teams to your house. None of that is true. And the big thing now on the money cards is, you guys, they'll say, if you put this $5,000 on a money card, or 1,000 or 300, and then we find out that you really didn't miss jury duty, or we find out the warrant for you is not really good, we'll give you all that money back. That's a lie. Once you read that number on the back of that money card to those scammers, that money is gone. It's gone forever. So don't believe it when they say that they're going to give you a refund. Okay, I have a few other questions, if that's okay, you guys. So Leslie, why can't we get rid of these phone scams? I wish we could, right? And remember the do not call list that did not work? So I know the government is trying to do more and more. The Attorney General in Oklahoma is trying to work with the feds, the Federal Trade Commission, the FCC, some of those agencies to try to block some of these calls, to try to stop some of these calls. But right now, it's up to us. The less information you give them, the less money you give them, the faster they'll go away. All right, Angela. She's asking about the Social Security cards. I think the calls, I think we answered that. Don't believe anybody who says your Social Security card has been compromised. That's a scam. Hang up. Don't even listen to them. Stacy, I keep getting messages on Facebook pretending to be a family member or friend. We've covered that. Of course, that's not your family member. If they say your name is on a list to win some money, or I'm stranded and I need money, you guys, all you should do is call your friend and say your Facebook's been hacked. Okay, Rhea. She got the one about her grandson who said they'd been in a car wreck and needed surgery. They called the 3rd time and she doesn't have a grandson. So she knew it was a scam. Thank you for that. But remember, that's the first one we talked about. It's by far the most common scam in Oklahoma right now is the grandparent scam. Vicky, I've had Google call my business number and say they want me to update my business listing. So some of us, I have a LLC and we have a Google listing, but they'll call and say they want to update it. That's not Google, because they wanted to charge her $300. She doesn't pay anything for a Google listing. So ignore that. So obviously when they start saying they want money, you say, oh, Google, you want to update my listing? Thank you so much. Click. you contact your Google business account and ask them if it was really them. You got to verify everybody. You can't trust anybody on phone calls, especially because that caller ID can be faked. It's just frustrating, isn't it? It's frustrating that we can't trust anybody. Okay, Creekmore. Hi, Creekmore. He's getting the one, of course, Social Security number has been compromised. We talked about that. And then Sonia, one of the ones she wants to know about, which I'll tell you too, you guys, is when they call and say, was it last year? I think it was last year. You know how time goes. We got new Medicare cards. People 65 and over got new Medicare cards, and they finally took your Social Security number off there. Thank you, federal government, for that. But these scammers would call and say, hey, I need your new Medicare number off your card. And if you don't give it to me, you're not going to have health insurance. You're not going to get your benefits. You can't go to the doctor. You can't go to the pharmacy. Don't fall for that one. That's a new one. Sonia, thank you for asking that question, because that's not true. Medicare doesn't need your new card number. They gave it to you. Now, when you got your new card, you probably had to give it to your doctor's office when you went in face-to-face, or give it to your pharmacist when you went in face-to-face. But people who call and want that kind of information, that's not true either. All right, Michelle, do we have any more? It doesn't look like it. I think I got that list. And I think I got this list. You guys, whoo, I know that's a lot of information in an hour. So if you still have your pen and paper, I want to give you one more phone number, please. And it's when I give this speech in person, I do this. So I decided I was going to do it today too. This is a phone number. It's not a scam. But you guys, these scams, when I cover them for News on 6, they hurt me so much. I see people hurting and losing hard-earned money, and it's just terrible. So here's what I would ask of you. I'm going to give you my personal cell phone number. Now, don't drunk dial me at 2 a.m. But if you encounter a phone call, an email, a Facebook message, anything like that, and you're not aware if it's really real or not real, and you're not sure, don't do anything until you call me. I will research it for you. I will tell you if it's legit. I will tell you if it's a scam. I can already tell you it's a scam. But I promise you I will research it for you. So 918-637-0887. That's how much this means to me, that we've got to stop people from being scammed and giving their information. So 918-637-0887. That's my cell phone. And I'm asking you, before you send a link to a text, before you give a money, before you donate to the charity, if you're not sure, you guys just call me. I will look at it. I will research it. But we have got to get this message out. We have got to share this with people. This information has got to get out. We've got to stop people from being taken by these scammers. That's the only way it's going to stop. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I appreciate your time. I know there was a lot of information in there. You can watch it back if you need to get some of the information, but I hope you will share this with as many people in your lives as you can. Thank you all so much.